Hey, comic book collectors, do you want to protect what you collect? Do you hate when your comic books slide around in your short box, or you need to turn them sideways just so they don't bend or fall over? Well, look no further than Sidekick Supplies. Their product fits firmly inside your comic box, so you don't need to worry. And not only is their product made in the USA, but also ships free directly to your doorstep. Check out our sponsor, Sidekick Supplies, at sidekicksupplies.com and use the code ComicCon15 for 15% off your purchase. Believe me, you'll be ordering more than one.
Welcome to the one and only Comic-Con Podcast, your podcast for comic book news, reviews, and comic community drama, with your hosts, Nemesis Prime and Milton the Manimal. Are you listening?
Welcome back, everybody. Season 4, Episode 2. Recording this on January 10th, 2024. How's everybody doing? Hopefully everyone had a great New Year's. Everyone checked out our first episode. We had a good, I would say good analytics. All I got to say is some new listeners. So appreciate the new listeners in there and all of our old listeners. So just want to let you know I didn't get a heat gun for Christmas. I do need one for some CGC slabs. So if anybody wants to fund me a heat gun for my slabs, feel free to send it my way. I'll give you my Venmo account or my PayPal so you can throw me some money. But what's going on, Mr. Manimal? How are you?
Well, I'm good, man. I actually got a Sawzall for Christmas, so I'm just going to use that on all the CGC books, crack them out, slip them out, do what I got to do. Super glue. Like, I'm going old school, bro, because everyone's looking for that heat gun. I'm going to go underneath the radar, low bar it, and just scam everyone. That's my new goal for 2024, scam artist.
Ooh, yeah. It's we definitely going to be talking a little bit more about the CGC stuff. We have a really interesting article. But before we get into that, we do have our first guest of the new year, a new guest. We typically hinder on the people up in Canada, but we decided to bring another Canadian into the mix of the Comic-Con podcast. And I'll let everybody know it's not Newbie Comics. So, fairly new to Instagram, someone who I recently, had the pleasure of being introduced to on Black Crown Comics YouTube channel. I've been following him for a little bit. Great content over on his Instagram, and we're gonna get right into it. We have Greg. You can find him at Paperweight Collects on Instagram. What's going on, man? How are you today?
What's going on, guys? First, thank you for having me. I appreciate it. It's another new comic book day. I'm just happy to be here, man. Again, I appreciate it. It's funny, like you mentioned, how we connected through Black Crown. Since I have only been in the game for a couple of years, when I first went on Thorough Show, I started meeting like different people. Then I went on Black Crowns and I met new people. So it's cool because I'm still very unfamiliar, right? It's new territory for me, so it's cool. And then maybe from this, I might meet some other new cats. So I just appreciate the time.
Yeah, so definitely appreciate you coming on here. We're going to get into a little bit of your origins and a little bit like what you do on Instagram. But before that happens, let's get into some community questions before we get into Greg's origins. So I got to ask, of all the Canadians, who do you hate the most? Of all the collectors out there, I got to ask that. That's not a community question. That's my community question.
Oh, okay, sorry. I jumped the gun. Sorry. It's very quick. We're on edge here. I was going to say, just before you do that, understand I genuinely have a ton of love for your country. Genuinely. So just let that be known. Truly.
Okay.
Wait, did you say Ed Sheeran?
No.
Is that what you said? Oh, sorry. For some reason, I thought you just about Ed Sheeran. I hate that guy. I was like, is someone with these Canadian?
Too good. So let's get into some community questions. The first one's going to go to you. And it's from Black Crown.
You as in me?
Yeah, you as in you, Greg. You as in you. So he wants to know, he goes, Paperweight, if you could wrestle one YouTuber, who would it be and what match? And I know you like wrestling, so that's why this question came up.
I mean, okay, here's the thing. Since, I've wrestled since 2000 and training 2007, started in the ring from 2008, understanding the safety, I would have to say if there was one person, he's not on YouTube though. Shit. I would say Black Crown's cousin, since I know he knows what he's doing in a ring.
Okay.
I'm going to go with Comic Codex.
All right. Okay. Yeah, I definitely want to talk about the wrestling thing. And, we briefly talked, I remember one time on Instagram talking about video games for that. So I'm not even going to go to Newbie Comics questions because I just, his we throw up the Instagram. I look for questions from the community over on our Instagram on the Comic Con podcast, and he just gives me the dumbest questions to answer, and we'll answer these questions when he is actually on the show if he ever gets invited onto the show again. But
You
let's
just like
actually go.
saving them to the side.
Yeah, I'm just like
Okay.
screenshotting them and waiting for the next time that he actually gets an invite onto the show.
Yeah.
So, next question is actually, it's actually a really good one. Actually, half and half of us will be able to answer this. So, our buddy Matt Wilkes 23 asking, since Dark Droids ended, what Star Wars' next crossover story do you want to see? And then, what is the next writer or artist to make it big in the industry? So. I know, Greg, you're not into the Star Wars stuff, so
I'm a Star Wars guy.
that's fine. But let's kind of, for Zach and I, we've been reading all the Star Wars stuff. Zach, what do you think is cool crossover? Knowing what's going on, knowing what's ending right now.
Yeah.
What do you
To
think?
be honest, I feel like I don't have like a definitive answer here, but I don't feel like we need another crossover in this era of Star Wars, right? Like
Mhm.
you had obviously the Star Wars comics goes New Hope, and then you had Star Wars Volume 1, Empire Strikes Back, and we have Star Wars Volume 2. I'm ready to be done with Volume 2. I've said it before. I'm so sick of Lando. Let's get Han back. Like, I want things to get moving. So my idea would be, or my vote, I guess, would be post Return of the Jedi, right? Stuff like that. So some kind of crossover there. I'd like to see something being brought in with some expanded universe characters, some the old school like characters, maybe with a new retconned backstory. So it's not like, it doesn't have to be exactly like that, but some kind of bleed over in between. Maybe we get a crossover with Mando, something like that, because that's all post Return of the Jedi, pre sequel trilogy. I don't know, man. As I'm talking about this, I also, of course, would love to see Dash Rendar and like the Prince Zizor stuff. I'm not sure that would have to happen in this run, I guess, in between Empire and Return. So maybe that would be my second thing. But I think what I'd really like to see is I'd like to see some crossover between what we've got in the Disney Plus shows with the comics. So after Return of the Jedi, and then in that time frame, we get some crossover events with maybe some of Mando's crew, some Bo-Katan type stuff, like that kind of stuff, maybe. I guess. I don't have, like I said, this is the story.
Yeah, it's tough. No,
Yeah.
I agree. Because from what we know, Bounty Hunters is ending, Dr. Aphra's ending, and then the new books that are coming out this year, like there's the Jango Fett miniseries, there's the Mace Windu, there's the Thrawn alliances. So it's a lot of that stuff is going to be obviously Django's going to be old, Mace is going to be old, Thrawn is going to be old as well, because it's not like it's going to be post.
Right.
He's not in the time frame of what's going on in the current comic books. So yeah, it's definitely a tough story. Obviously, the thing is with Marvel too, is they only have the one main series of even like High Republic. Like I would say, hey, let's do a crossover between the High Republic stories that are in Marvel and Dark Horse, but I'm sure these companies aren't going to want to do a crossover event like that. So yeah, I don't know, to be honest. It's tough right now, but I like what you're thinking is let's do these expanded universe characters and bring them in.
We need to move on from, sorry, just real quick. We need to move on from the Bounty Hunters cast. They're garbage.
Well, yeah, they're done. I mean, that series is over and done.
Yeah, but and they keep coming back to them. They did it in the last, and it's always like, I feel like they think Star Wars fans, and maybe this is the case for Star Wars fans, but I feel like it's drying up. But like, oh, hey, they're gonna have Bosk, or like Dengar is gonna show up. Like, we don't care about these characters, dude. It was cool because we never saw anything about them until the expanded universe and like out of the movies and stuff. It's cool now, but like every time Bosk shows up, I'm just like, ugh, who cares, dude? This guy sucks. And so, like, move on from even Valance. To be honest, Bayer Valance has not had strong stories. Bring in some new characters. Honestly, I'm ready to see Aphra go the way of the Dodo. I don't feel like her stories have been strong, and I don't know. I want to bring some new blood in, and let's make it like new old blood, like you said, like the expanded universe characters.
Yeah,
bring in Dash Rendar. Give us something cool with him.
Yeah, I would love to see the whole.
Okay, can I ask you a question then? Since like I'm not a Star Wars guy, like I remember when I first bought this book, it was strictly based off the art, because even though I don't know Star Wars, the franchise is so huge. I still know all the characters, even though I don't know anything about it. But the one book that drew me in that I wanted to read, that maybe you can help me out with, is like Visions. Is like that have anything to do with like the Star Wars that you guys are referring to, like the old stuff, or is that a totally different twist on it?
So did you read the one shot with the
No, I
Ronin?
didn't. I didn't read. I'm saying that's
Okay.
the one Star Wars
Oh,
book
man.
that like drew me in just from it looked different from
Okay.
previous Star Wars stuff I
Yeah.
saw.
Yeah. So that issue came off of the Visions Disney Plus show. So Disney Plus did the Visions
The show
TV
was
series.
first.
Yes.
Oh, okay.
And there was 8 different episodes. The first episode was called The Ronin, and it's done by the same artist who did Afro Samurai. And basically it's drawn directly off that. So they did that one shot, but now they're doing this newer thing called Visions as well with Peach Momoko, which is a completely different story, different characters in its own. So
It's almost like a what if alternate universe with Star Wars, kind of like a
Yeah,
mixture.
what's the reception for it amongst like Star Wars fans like you guys? Is the Vision stuff good, not good?
Depends on the story.
Yeah, the first season was definitely a lot better than the second season of Visions. It's almost like the What If, like for Marvel, like What If season 1 and What If season 2. None. So what they did in season 1 was they took all different Japanese studio, like anime studios, and each studio was able to do their own episode however they wanted to in the Star Wars universe. Same thing in season 2, but what they did was they expanded it to studios all across the world. So like there's some in Europe and South America and Asia and stuff like that. So they took like more movie studios that have done like big name, not like blockbusters, but big name like animations, and they were able to incorporate Star Wars. And I think they should have just kept it to the West. I didn't really like a lot of the episodes for season 2, and I really don't go back to that. So that's just my opinion. But
the read itself, nothing great.
The first one, what you're talking about, yes.
Yeah, it's good.
That one was pretty cool.
That one shot was good. Yeah.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah, it's not bad, but it's not really going to bring in probably new readers, I wouldn't say.
No, yeah, you got to really, if you watched the episode and just kind of wanted a little bit more of an expansion, I would say that was the only thing. Really
not knowing nothing, when I saw the cover, I'm like, this is different, and it's like, how many times can they kind of do the same thing again? Not knowing anything, but I was still able to observe that from like an outsider. I'm like, oh, this looks like something that might be a totally different spin on things. Again, walking in blindly, right? Not even knowing there was a show, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, totally. So let's get to Matt's second question. So, the next writer or artist to make it big. Do you want to start off there, Zack?
No, go ahead.
Okay, perfect. So I'll start, and then we'll go around the table or around the screens over here. So I'll start with my writer, and I feel like this writer has been around for a while, but really only does one main title currently, but has done a lot in the past, and that's Marjorie Liu, obviously doing Monstrous. Prior to that, she did some X-23 stuff. She did, the NYX and other Marvel stuff. But, I feel like she's a breakout writer that is only doing one title for be like the past 5 or 6 years now on Monstrous. And it's an amazing story. It's an amazing world. But she's someone that I feel like if you're given an opportunity once, creatively, because obviously Monstrous is with Image, if she was able to come back to like maybe DC or Marvel and take a mainstream character or even like a B level or C level character, I think she would be able to incorporate her writing and actually do something very well. And she's won awards just based on Monstrous, so why not be able to take that type of writing and bring it into someone in the DC universe or the Marvel universe? So that's my writer. For my artists, I have 2. I would say Dan Mora. I'm sure Zack would agree with me.
But
Obviously
he's been around, right, for a while.
he has, but I feel like he doesn't get he's not really like a blow. I think you and I just talk about him so much that we feel like he's a blowout artist. But yeah, obviously Once and Future, and then right now he's doing the DC. He's got the World's Finest stuff with Batman and Superman. I think that's really been an improvement in the DC world as far as artists. My other artist, and it's someone who's been around a while, I would say Jamal Campbell. Created Naomi and then also did the Far Sector stuff. Amazing colors, great style. I think those are 2 people that I think you really need to watch. I think Dan's always busy with the DC stuff, and I think Jamal Campbell's more, I would say a newer artist, but doesn't get the recognition for just amazing art that he's done for both, like I said, Naomi and also Far Sector. So those are my 2 picks. Zack, what do you got?
So I think I had to think about it. That's why I wanted you to go first, man, because I was like, oh shit, I don't know.
It's all right.
I'm
Great
giving
question. It's
it is a
absolutely
good
great question.
It's a good question. I'm giving a fan cast first. So the writer or the artist that I want to have a blowout year is V. Ken Marion, of course. Shout out to our boy, right? Because he's so cool and I love the stuff he does. But I think one of the guys who I think is going to blow up soon, that I think is on the rise, and hopefully I don't murder his name, which I'm probably going to, is Simon Kodransky, the guy who writes and does the art for Something Epic.
Epic.
Yeah.
Very good. Yes.
So, and he's also doing art for Edenwood as well. I know he's got a couple other stuff with Image. I was trying to look to see if he's doing anything with Marvel and DC right now. Looks like he's done some older like Miles and trade paperback stuff. I didn't know he did Fallen Angels. That's interesting. But yeah, I think he's on the rise, man. Obviously, we talk about Something Epic like all the time, and
Yep.
I think he's on that Tynion role right now, where it's like, he's coming up like off this title, he's going to get something else or keep going with it, and I think he's going to hit. I think he's going to hit pretty good.
All right.
So for me, everybody's new, right? I've only been reading for a couple of years. So I don't know if I'd be able to give who would be considered new. Like Tynion is definitely my favorite writer. I don't know how long he's been doing it for. I'm assuming it's been a while because I've read like older stuff from him too. Now that I'm thinking about it, so I off the top of my head, I wouldn't be able to tell you new. For art, I mean, again, same thing. Only reading for 2 years, so I don't know who's been around longer or shorter. I like Jimenez's art; like he kills it on like the Batman titles.
Oh yeah.
The same person. I was thinking the exact same artist. I'm gonna butcher the name from Something Is Epic. That artist was in my mind. And is it Martin Simmons that does like Department of Truth, like that kind of? I'm a Tynion guy, like that. Like Tynion is my guy, so I'm kind of biased in that sense. And again, given only reading a couple years, I truly don't know who's fresh new or like been around for years.
Yeah,
that's cool though, man. Like honestly, it's kind of exciting. Like I'm like a bit jealous of you in a way because you're like,
dude,
like I would love to hear you say, "Oh, there's this guy named Jim Lee," and I'd have been like, "Holy shit, dude!"
No,
Can
but
you imagine like just
like,
meeting Jim Lee or like just getting introduced to that? It's like the heyday of comics, bro.
But that's what's like I find cool still as like a fan and still learning things is because I have a totally different perspective too. Because
awesome.
There might be people who listen to this or other people be like this guy doesn't know nothing. Sure, perhaps, but if you want to bring new people in and keep them in for the right reasons, then at least hear people like me out, right? Like I don't know all the old stuff, but the people that I do. So when I first started reading, I literally was like, I don't want to know any of the story of the writers. I just want to read, and I don't even want to know who's writing them. I don't want to have any judgment or bias. And every title I read, hand to God, was a Tynion book. Those are automatically, without even looking at it. So that's just who I enjoy reading, and the art and the story kind of has to go hand in hand, right? So there's so many, dude. But I guess those would be my picks, whether they're acceptable or not.
It's cool.
That's great.
Awesome.
Especially like Zach said, you're new to this, so anything that you say is it's perfect for a new reader.
It's good for us old jaded dudes too. You know what I mean? Like it's good to hear you kind of be like, hey, like oh, James Tynion. We're like, yeah, we know he's good, but like it's also be like, yeah, because we kind of forget that stuff, right? And it's always. Before you showed up, Justin and I were talking about the state of Marvel Disney Plus shows and how it's like, whether you like them or not, this hasn't been very good lately. And we're in this like downward spiral. And so I feel like we're all in this zone of negativity where it's like, it doesn't matter. Like, is there anything good enough to get us out of it? And so having someone like you who's like, hey, this guy again, I'm like, yeah, you know what? Sometimes I take for granted Tynion's work, or I take for granted like Nice House on the Lake, or I forget about it or something like that. And I'm like, that was actually really good and I really enjoyed it, but I moved past it and it's fun to look back and kind of be like, hell yeah, dude.
Like my first reads literally were like Department of Truth, Nice House on the Lake, Who's Killing the Children. Those were the first reads, like, and they're like considered, I guess, like classics amongst people, right? Like, so, I mean, but to your point, like too, about like the Marvel Disney Plus and people having like gripe about it. It's not even just about the negativity. I also think there's like this counter thing that happens. I also think when there's so many people like called Marvel fanboys who just won't be objective. If you could just honestly sit back and be like, look, it's not the best right now, but maybe we'll get somewhere. Right. That'll be a lot better than saying this is the best thing ever. Because then the pushback's going to be, nah, it's whack. You're tripping. you know,
Yeah,
and then that's where the
agreed.
negative comes from.
Yeah.
Just be objective. Like I'm a DC guy, but like I know tons of DC stuff is trash. But right now, especially when it comes to reads, personally, like because I'm
Trust.
mostly an indie reader, like but the DC stuff I do read compared to the Marvel stuff I've tried to read is far better. Like to me, like the read at this point.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, we all have that. We all have that point with, you know, we try, you know, here, Zach and I, we try to read a little bit of everything. And yeah, you get highs and lows. There's going to be weeks where the DC stuff is better. There's the weeks that the indie stuff is better. But at the end of the day, as long as you're enjoying reading something,
As long as you're reading, man.
yeah, and you're finding something new, you know, because obviously, you know,
Yeah.
whether it's because you like the art or you like the writing, you know, just, you know, hold on to it. That's how I look at it. You know,
Yeah.
I'm an art guy. Zach's the writing, the writing side. So, you know, and I'm surprised you even say, you know, like Department of Truth, like Martin's tough on the art. And I couldn't get through Department of Truth because of the
That's
art.
my favorite comic.
But everything else from James I love. Like it's just weird. Like
yeah. I'm a conspiracy guy though, so kind of fit right in my way.
yeah, it's fine. Yeah. When you like something, you like something.
Yeah.
So again, let's get into Greg. Let's get into kind of like your origin. So this is perfect because you're super new at collecting, and I love this. So there's going to be like so many great questions, and to hear from someone who's such a new reader, even though like you're not like a young like you're not like young like a teenager getting into comics. You know, you're a little older, so this is great. So you said you've been, you know, you just kind of started like 2 years ago. Like what kind of got you into like this? Like was it the YouTube thing? Was it like the COVID thing?
Yeah, like literally kind of like going back to what you said too. So tying into the origin story. So when I first fell into it, so yeah, it was during COVID, right?
Mm-hmm.
Like most people who came in and exited, I was introduced to this strictly initially as a financial thing. Okay, they're like, I met a guy, I see him like making all this money, flipping books, and I'm like what? Like people spend this kind of money? And he's like, yeah. So then I'm like, oh, okay. And he's like, here, I'll get you started. Like, give me X amount. We'll do this and that. So then I started talking to him more, and I'm like, I started reading. I'm like, oh, so what do you think about this and that? And he's like, I don't read it. And I'm like, you don't read, you just sell it. And I know this might sound corny. I'm like, that seems super like disingenuous. So I'm like, you know what? I'm like, before I sell anything, I'm gonna start reading comics. So I started reading, and I'm like, holy shit, this stuff is dope. And then I started to think deeper. Like I kind of get in my head, I'm like, this might be one of the oldest pastimes from the West that is like not nearly respected or taught. Like how many hobbies or things were created here that has been around this long at this magnitude with like the rich history that it has. So I'm like, wait a minute, there's a lot more here than just buying and flipping books. So I started reading, collecting, starting a PC. And then instead of going to flipping books, I strictly sell occasionally just to fund it. Like if I sell books, that means it just means I can go up my PC, which is essentially for the kids. And I'm not naive thinking they're going to buy a house with this, but I don't know down the road, maybe their first car, I don't know, whatever they want to do with it, they can do what they want. But I wanted something tangible to leave them because people like similar and, you know, all of our age groups, we don't have that same disposable income as older generations to leave behind. Mm-hmm. So it's something that I was able to do with my kids. And I started the Instagram page because, like I said it on Thorough and Black Crown, Broken Record, I wanted to reset my algorithm. Like I wanted to escape all the noise that was around me. I still don't have any person. Now I've made new friends. I have no personal friends on that IG, like my Paperweight Collects page. Nothing. I just wanted a fresh start, and I just genuinely fell in love with it. And that's kind of like the origin of it. Something to do with the kids, an old like historical pastime and awesome art, like cool stories. Maybe I got into it at a weird stage where we are as a society, but you know, that's why I kind of gravitate to the indie titles. They just seem to be a little bit more edgier and like free. There seems to be a bit more creative freedom. And when I've met writers in person, they've kind of shared that sentiment of why they like writing for indies. There's a lot more leeway.
Mm-hmm. So you do a lot of stuff like on your Instagram with your daughter. And so I got to ask, man, I need tips here. So I have a 7-month-old, and I'm definitely, obviously it's going to be a while before I get to like the reading part, but like I'm a big reader. I've been reading like my whole life, whether it's comics, novels, whatever. Mm-hmm. And I told my wife, like my worst fear is that my son's not going to want to read. How'd you get your daughter interested in it? How did you?
here's the thing, man.
Yeah, how'd you do it?
This is I think what I can offer the community, like as a service and as like a PSA. As much as people want to bitch every day about things they don't like about comics, the best thing you can do if you want this hobby to survive is involve the youth.
Mhm.
At my child's age, and your daughter's still 7 months. How old, do you say you had a son as well?
No, son, 7 months, just a son.
Okay,
Yeah.
sorry, God bless. Okay, so your son is 7 months. When he's at an age of like 3, 4 years old, dude, he goes into a comic shop, he's going to be enamored at
Right.
what he sees. My daughter, like, again, and just a little background, like we also we're not like a tablet. Like my daughter still does not have a tablet. She's almost 8. We don't do like a lot of screen time with them, this and that. The children at that age will be enamored with art, color, trees outside. Like when I first brought my daughter to an LCS, her expression was like, whoa, like what is it? Like, she just sees art and like color. And so it was easy. So now she has her own like PC box. She reads like those, like kind of like the trade versions. You know what I mean? They're just because they're a little bit bigger, and it's just easier for her to read through those than like issue by issue. But yeah, she absolutely loves comics.
I feel like you hit it. Like I'm listening and I'm like, yeah, that makes sense. Like you hit it on the head. And I think like your tactic as like a parent of like tablets and screen time, like it's so important because it's hard. And like, I get it. It's hard to be like, why would I read this when I can watch this? You know what I mean? Like the kids today, it's so much different as like the old guys talking now. But like my nephew is 7 or 8 years old. I think he's 8 and loves Marvel. I mean, he can tell you everything about the Marvel movies. He knows all the characters. He has the toys. I gave him a box of comics and I don't think he's read a single one of them. And so it's like, damn, dude, like you poser. Like I just punched him.
She might,
because that's what I do.
I don't know. She might fall out of it. But I mean, for your son, I think as long as you just keep him around it, and bring him to the shop, I don't think you have anything to worry about. But he might not. Like who knows? Same with his daughter. But I think that's what we should be really focusing on if we want to keep this thing going. Because like I said, every day it's someone bitching about something. Kind of keep this thing going, you got to involve the youth. It's like trying to keep like a professional sports team with old people on it forever.
For sure. And I think, and we talked about this, Justin, was a couple episodes ago when we talked about, you'll have to remind me, I can't remember his name, but the guy who caught all the heat on like Twitter from the comments he made about like writers injecting themselves into the stories.
A shop guy.
The shop,
From Comic Book Palace,
Yes.
Up in Massachusetts.
And I think that's part of it too. Like, not only you got to get the youth involved, right? But at the same time, like the people writing it, like you got to move on from these politics and stuff. You think the youth is interested in this? You think they're so tired of that, probably in their souls already at like 8 years old? Like, stop trying to push your agenda as an adult into the comics. Because Stan Lee didn't do that. And I know people will probably like, well, what do you think? X-Men, Martin Luther King, all that bullshit. And yeah, it is, but it wasn't in your face, man. Like it.
Yeah. No, I'm with you 100%.
Well, you look at it like when we grew up, like the 90s, if you think about it, and this is perfect, like for you, Greg, like in the 90s, the way comics were, big guns, big guys, colorful, like it was all action. And that's what kind of
politics, right?
Yeah, there was no politics. That's kind of what that's what basically, drew like a young kid to comic books. Like, and again, at that time it was mostly all, kids, boys, whatever. It wasn't females like it is now, like where, everybody reads comics. So yeah, I mean, Rob Liefeld, Jim Lee, McFarlane, everybody that over at Image and Valiant stuff, like they did it right. Like they knew how to get to kids, attention. We didn't have tablets when we were kids. We had maybe like a handheld Game Boy, but yeah, I think, and it's interesting to think about it because I would love to see like a survey of like how many parents were into comics and got their kids into comics. And on the flip side, it'd be like, how did you get into like, did you get into comics and your parents knew nothing about? Like my parents weren't into comic books at all.
Yeah,
like I got it from like a friend.
Yeah,
so like that's how I was introduced into the hobby. But
it could have been like an escape for you too, though, right?
Exactly. Yeah, it's a little different. But like some of my friends, their fathers were into comics, and then they kind of trickled. They kind of stuck
the legacy thing. Yeah,
it's the whole. Yeah, exactly. So it'd be really interesting to see that, to kind of go and like, well, this is exactly, because again, I don't have a kid. If I did have a son or a daughter, I would definitely do like what both of you guys do. It's try to start them. And if they end up liking it and they stick with it, that's great. If they fall out of it, you still got to try, and you never know, they may go back.
Yeah,
And
that's the reason orphanages exist
Yeah.
too. So you can just get rid of your kid. You send them to the orphanage, and you try again with a new one, dude.
And dude, it was never forced. It was just like, this is what I'm doing. And she's, again, I'm just lucky in that sense. Like, she's easygoing. But yeah, like, I mean, who knows which way it'll go. But I agree wholeheartedly. I think we're all on the same page as that. Like, the agenda pushing, all the nonsense, just write good stories.
Yeah.
I don't, you know what I mean? Like, that's all it comes down to. Write good stories.
And like, to kind of go back to like your favorite writer right now, Tynion, right? Obviously, he's part of the LGBTQ community, and in a lot of his stories,
I didn't know that at first.
there's
I knew after, but that's why I said I didn't want to know anything before, because people have preconceived judgments. No matter who, everyone could preach that they're the holiest of holy,
but he does it great. I mean, like, he's a part of the community, and his characters, he has characters in there that are part of the community, but it's not like, it's not the forefront. Like, if you read, like, if I go like another example, Iceman, like, there is nothing interesting about Iceman anymore besides the fact that he's homosexual. Like, I mean, that's all you get in any Iceman story is, hey, check out this guy, he's gay and he has ice powers. Tynion does his writing, and he has characters who are part of those communities, but it's not like the most interesting thing about them. That's not their character. That's just a part of
dialogue. He like uses the F-bomb plenty of times in his dialogue.
Yeah, dude.
Not the 4-letter one.
Like, the other, like the worst one. Right?
The other one. He uses it in the dialogue. So, and I actually appreciated that. So again, as a new reader, when I was starting to read, and I'm again now in this world that we live in, and I'm reading the dialogue and I'm seeing the way they're talking, I'm like, damn, like, comics might be the last spot for this shit to go, and no one's like, dude, like, literally, I've read stuff where there is, like I said, that the F word plenty of times in comics, right? And you don't see people on Twitter every day bitching about it, right? But it's interesting.
Yeah.
So speaking of, your Instagram, it was, it's your Instagram started like in 2022. I kind of did a background on and check it. It's interesting. You like literally posted all these videos and Zack or pictures, and then like Zack said, now you do this thing with your daughter. Explain what you do with your daughter. So for the people that are listening that don't follow you, who then should be following you, tell us a little bit about what you do on a weekly basis with her.
Yeah, so we almost try every Wednesday. So for New Comic Book Day, I basically grab, if there's some new titles that I find interesting that I want to read or spec on, I grab them, and then I show her the cover, I show the audience the cover, and then we just kind of chat about it and other stuff going on. And then usually I don't do like these long-winded reviews, especially on IG. I feel like it's different than one on YouTube. I feel like the length of time you can spend talking on YouTube very much differs from Instagram, even if you can throw an hour video on, right? So I just quickly say, like, these are books I've read. This is, I think, worthy of reading. You can pass on it. This was my read of the week, and this is what we got. And then I wrap it up. They're usually never more than 10 minutes. It's something just quick and fun, that I like to do with her, and it's something she looks forward to. I'm always like, what day is it today? And she's like, New Comic Book Day, right when she's going to school. So it's just something like I said, and I can tell, I can even see Zach's smile. He's thinking about like maybe doing that with his kids one day, kind of thing, right? So it's,
I love, the LCSs, man, hell yeah.
That's what kills me too. Like when you hear about all these shops closing down, it's like I get it, like it's a different world, but like I'm telling you, you bring a child into a shop. Like you can see it. Like I'm a very observant person. Like when I first let her walk in, I watched her as I was walking. I didn't like look around me. I just stared at her and I watched her. And now like when she goes to shop, she has like the stool and she starts digging, and like she knows to look for S because she loves like Spider-Gwen, H for Harley Quinn, and W for Wonder Woman. Like she knows all that. But yeah, so it's super cool as a father and somebody just new to the hobby, reading, collecting, all that.
Justin, I think about that place you took me in when we went to Terrificon, like outside, like right near the big shop with the basement.
Out in New London.
Yeah.
Yep.
Can you imagine taking a kid into that shop? Like, I mean, just with
it's like a toy store.
Yeah, it's like a toy store. It's crazy, dude. And like, now even saying
Home Alone toy store, like that toy store.
Here, and I don't know what it's like in Canada, but name a toy store. There ain't toy stores anymore. The best toy store now is Target in the US. Like there's no Toys R Us anymore. There's no KB.
To you guys.
They're opening a few shops. So.
But like even toy stores, man. Like, I mean, if you were to ask me where do you go to get a toy, I'd probably be like Target or Walmart.
Or Amazon.
Or Amazon would be
You
great.
know what's funny? I was actually going to bring it because we didn't get a comic today. So I was at an LCS on the weekend to pick up a book that I couldn't get from my regular one, and he had this dope. Like I love Scarecrow from DC, and it was the animated series one, and it was $50. So I'm like, damn, okay, like I'm not gonna spend $50 on it. So I go to down on Amazon. It's like 40%. It was $25. So I bought it, and it came in. So like, yeah, Amazon too. And it's not about not supporting, but I'm also not going to overpay, right?
It sucks. You want to be like, screw Amazon, but then you're like,
of course,
it's really convenient and they have great price
off. Literally 50% off. So
yeah, it's crazy.
That's great. Yeah, like your videos are quick, 5 to 8, 10 minutes tops. You know, you do the comic book stuff. You know, I've even seen you do like some card breaks with your daughter. You know,
we did a card break, and we do the guest to grade. The guest to grade is the fun thing because she actually enjoys like examining books. So now even when like we're at a toy store, she'll see like a corner bench. She's like, "That's not a 9/8 toy. Like it doesn't need to be a 9/8 toy," you know. So, but that again, this was just fun things. I'm like, how can I do something fun for my kids that isn't going to break the bank? It's not like terrible, like that's going to lead them in a weird direction.
Right.
So that's kind of how that happened. But we are thinking about doing other things like outside of Instagram. But it's weird. Like I'm this type of person. Like I just don't feel like I've earned those stripes yet. Like I need to kind of like understand like the history of comics more. I need to read more older things. Like I need to do more homework, I feel like, before I can like really talk about things. Like anything I talk about is relatively modern or like from cinema, right? Like I can't sit here and talk to you guys about, you know, the X-Men run from the 90s or like the Frank Miller Batman. Like I don't know.
Yeah. You know what it is too? Like people like yourself sometimes know more than, like you were talking about how the person that kind of introduced you into comics. Like a lot of people, they only know like first appearances or like a key classic cover or like because if it's a story arc, but they've never actually opened up and read those books. They just know it, that they know the cover or they know the issue. So they buy it on the cheap and then flip it. Right. You at least have read through books. So like you can actually tell somebody, hey, this is actually a good book because of X, not because of, hey, it's worth, you know, $50, $100 or something.
Yeah.
Like that. There's actually a purpose behind it. And that's what's always great is, you know, bringing people on that talk about books, that read books, because at the end of the day, like that's why we got into this hobby. You know, if you realistically got into this hobby because you wanted to buy and flip, yeah, that's fine. But most people are in it to read. They want to hear what other people have to, you know, say about different titles and, you know, something to take them out of the world, like to get out of the world that we live in for, you know, 40 minutes, half hour, or whatever at a time to, you know, read through, you know, your weekly reads and dude, you go back and find older stuff.
The funnest stuff to me still is like the hunt, man. Like I don't know about you guys. Like I love like in the summer times, like it's not like the US where I know since just there's a bigger population, you can kind of luck out at garage sales, but I'll still hit up like garage sales, pawn shops, and I stick to it this day. You always see the same kind of books being rehashed online, like the ASM 129s and 50 people selling the same books. I am adamant that these old ass men who have no YouTube have the dopest collection that no one knows about.
Oh, true.
My like not claim to fame, but my favorite story is I found a Hulk 181 at a garage sale.
Wow.
That was my like, and to that, ever since that day, I'm like, the hunt is the funnest part. It has nothing to do about money. That 1.8 white pager is my kids from a garage sale.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Cool. Like that was a garage sale find at the bottom of a shoebox. Like that's how cool is that story to tell your kid? Like
that's awesome.
Yeah, hell
yeah. And growing, and like I even told Thorough, like growing up in the 90s, not for anything, it's weird because I got into wrestling and I loved wrestling because of the aesthetics and everything. But like in the 90s, when I grew up, I would get beat up. People get beat up if you said you like comics and stuff.
Oh yeah, dude. No one knew I read comics.
And I didn't read. I'm not saying I wasn't into it because I heard that. Like if you watched it, like dude, I literally, aside from like every kid who watched a Batman movie, until the last 2 years, I had never watched any of these movies. None. This is all new to me. The MCU, everything. Like to me, like the Nolan verse beats everything to me.
100%.
But you know, like yeah, like it's all new to me. So it's like it's all fresh. It's like pop cherries all day, like all new.
I mean, going back kind of to what you were saying, Justin, too, and that's like probably one of the most frustrating parts about the community. I feel like these days is like the biggest quote unquote names in the community. They don't read. I mean, these are guys who are pushing top 10 lists and you can just tell like if you pay attention, you can tell there's no joy. Like there's no joy in the comics anymore. You got guys out here doing Instagram reels about books, and they didn't read those books. They don't know anything about those books. They get on shows, they do YouTubes, and it's just like smoke. That's all it is. It's all just smoke and like carnival tricks.
What's the list based on, Zach? The list is based on what?
Money, and that's all they care about.
How many dope stories are there that aren't worth money but are amazing stories?
100 fucking more than there are that are worth money. Exactly. Let's be honest. And like, I hear, and this is I'm not trying to be disparaging by any means. I just never been the guy who hunts for the books because it's never really been me. I tried for a little while. Justin got me the bug a bit, and it was okay. But then honestly, I kind of got to the point as well where I was like, look, this is kind of ruining it for me. Like I'm a Wednesday guy or Tuesday. I get my books on Tuesdays. I'm a Tuesday guy, get my books, read my books, talk my comics. That's all I am. Like, I just want to read them, live my life. I don't give a shit what the spec book is. If it ends up hitting and I can sell it and buy a PC book, even better. But that's about it, dude. So,
well, that's good. Let's some great origin stories. I don't even want to come close. I got nothing, but I think that's awesome that you found it.
I was gonna say, was my origin like long and like?
No, dude,
dude.
You're great because I mean, like, you're so new. So like anything we say, it's just like, it's
you're so shiny.
Yeah,
new shiny toy.
You're like that 9.8 comic that we may get if we send it in the CGC.
It's like when you get the book and you're like super excited about it, and then it goes on your shelf, and like 2 years later, you're like, oh yeah, I got that book.
No, but like Zach, and I'm thinking now, like as we're doing this, like Zach made such a good point. It's like and then it dawned on me, like all these lists are strictly on a list based on like money. And I'm not saying like I'm totally like capitalist, like great, like do it right, and be greedy, but like
make your money, like
make your money. But like it's not. Why is there not a list on like reads? Like what's the best read list? You know what I'm saying? Because none of the books that people are looking for would probably be on those lists because they're just looking for ones that are worth money.
Yeah,
and that doesn't keep the hobby going. Like that's going to turn and burn real quick.
Yeah.
So
it's like shows. I do a lot of like little shows because I enjoy it because they're great to not just like clear some like leftover inventory, great for trades, great to meet new people and connect. And it's just it's a good way to get out of the house. I bring my kid around. But the shows too, like that's when I kind of got the first inkling, like over the last year and a half. I'm like, dudes have slabbed every goddamn book in the world. Like, what do you need issue 98?
Yeah.
Like slabbed for at like a 6.5? Like what possessed you to do this? Like, what are you thinking?
Yeah, dude.
Yeah.
Some people have some wild collecting habits.
Yeah. There's some people that just, they get that itch and they're like, it just needs to be sealed in the plastic. It just needs to be kept that way.
I'm just saying they've over slabbed to the point.
Oh no, that's what I'm saying. Yeah, no, I agree. Like, like there's some people like, there's people out there that are like, I get it. Like, I want to slab the entire Claremont run of the X-Men stuff, or I want to do like a 1 to 10 of like every Marvel issue. If you could, there's those people who have those issues. I get that, but when you're like, I'm going to slab like the last 50 issues of like Simpsons comics or something, like some stupid thing. Zach knows why. Zach knows why I said that.
Is that a dig?
Yeah, it's a dig at somebody.
Well, there's one person who always
a friendly dig.
A friendly dig.
I know, it's all in good fun.
Yeah. So speaking of comic books, let's get into what we always talk about here if we get into an article or two tonight of what are currently reading around the comic book world. So Greg, you're the guest. What are you currently reading? Like, what's something whether it's one title or a few titles, like what's something that you feel that you're reading that maybe people aren't reading and should be reading?
So I can tell you right now, actually, because I wrote it down recently. I didn't read anything that came out today yet, but like for sure I can tell you what I'm reading, like a top 10 kind of thing. Beneath the Trees, 100% is an amazing read. My my favorite read right now, and I've been on rants about this. If you're not reading Gargoyle of Gotham, you don't like comics whatsoever. Okay, and people might not agree with that story.
I haven't picked it up,
dude.
Please tell me why I should.
Yeah, I haven't read it.
I'm a Batman guy.
Okay, because remember, this is about the art, the pace, the dialogue, the feeling of it. It feels important. And I spoke with my friend Jordan, who lives in Tennessee, and he actually has like an LCS that started kind of like online, and now he actually has like a place, right? And he was the one, because I thought I was tripping because, again, I'm new to this. And he's like, no, dude, he's like, this feels like what I think people felt with Frank Miller's Dark Knight. That's how good.
Wow.
So the
That's some big
story,
words.
so even though Matt Reeves did a great job with like his vision of like the Batman, if he were to well, they are continuing. If Batman was to ever be like, if Nolan, like if this was to ever be rebooted again, you follow this story panel for panel, word for word. It's like almost perfect so far. It goes way into also like the history of like Bruce as a child, like the psychology of him, not like how you've seen like with like little things in other comics or movies. It goes really, really deep and dark. It's just, I don't know how to, I won't be able to articulate it properly because it's so good. And when I get really excited about something, I'll just rant about it as opposed to like getting my point across. But I assure you, you won't be disappointed with Gargoyle of Gotham. I assure you.
All right.
I'll check it out.
Yeah.
There's always so many Batman like spin-off titles. It's kind of like, I'm not going to read that one. I'm not going to read this one. Like
and I am reading like the Chip Zdarsky run. Like to me, that's the one that got me because I was only reading indie. And then when he started like the Failsafe arc, again, new reader, that's like my arc. Like that's like the arc that got me into reading like DC stuff like more often than not.
That's really cool.
So the Failsafe arc was amazing. The Superman book right now, like the latest one is great. And I've talked to old school readers who said this is one of the best like ever out of all the Supermans, like after many years. So that's great. One of my favorites indie wise, that again, to Zach's point, that gets no love financially, but great story. Once Upon a Time at the End of the World, Jason Aaron's book. Incredible story. The new Penguin book is good. That one is really good. Tom King. World Tree, Fish Flies, Sacrificers. Those are Tenements. Yeah, those are the ones I'm reading mostly right now. And the Deviant.
Dude, no one talks about. Sometimes I feel like I read a lot of Jeff Lemire. Like I'll pick up Jeff Lemire's stuff, and honestly, I was kind of starting to wonder: am I the only person reading Fish Flies? Because no, I haven't heard anything about it.
It's great. Like when I met him, I got like Little Monsters 1 signed by him when I met him, and
I loved Little Monsters.
Yeah, great. Yeah, another great story. Like I said, I'm reading Tenement 2 by him. Fish Flies, I don't know if it's. I feel like sometimes writers do like they put so much dialogue in it where it's like too wordy. Jeff Lemire, almost like Tiny, and like they have a way to kind of get their point across with like less is more in a way, right?
For sure.
Fish Flies is a really like kind of good pace, fun story. But yeah, those are kind of my go-to reads right now.
Nice.
Well, let me give you a recommendation if you haven't checked out, since you just started reading with Batman, check out Batman the Night that Chip did.
Yeah, dude.
The Night?
12 issue. Yeah, it's called The Night, Batman the Night.
Like, that's relatively new, right? Like it's newer, right?
Yeah, it came out last year or 2022. It was what Chip did before Failsafe, right?
Yeah, it was before he picked him. I think that's what put him on the Batman run. Like why they took him.
Because what you're currently reading now, like if you're reading the latest series with Sarah Earth Batman, and there's some characters that show up in this storyline that originally, and like the little like asterisk sometimes will appear, and it'll be like, oh, this was in Batman the Night, and it's a very good prequel to like Batman's training, like Bruce's training throughout the year.
It's like an origin kind of. I
want to know what you guys are reading then, because I feel like you guys aren't reading what I'm reading.
Half and half. No, definitely got some good stuff in there. So, I the Beneath the Trees. I found. I was lucky enough. I found the first 2 issues, and I had to pick it up because obviously it's been on Cover Price's top 10. People are going crazy for it. I don't know if I really see the whole, like what people are flipping out and like going crazy to trying to get this. These issues and how expensive the first issue or first 2 issues are. Like, I get it. It's like a, small town. It's a serial killer type of story, but like with like the Berenstain Bears, like it's basically,
Berenstain Bears.
But that's kind of the thing though. Like what makes something great? Like it's good art, good dialogue, good pace, good story. Like, I don't know. I think it just flows very well. Like, and I didn't jump on it like a hype thing. I missed out on buying. I had to get the second print. I wanted the first one. Shop never got it. So I just said, I'll let it go. I read it digitally. I'm like, damn, this book is great. And then I see it blow up. I'm like, okay. And I've been reading, it's only 2 issues deep, but that one and Gargoyle of Gotham were like in the latter part of like 2023, but those two reads have been like great for 2 issues in. They've been great.
I'm just curious of like why it's being hyped or it's selling so well. Like people think it's going to be into some media thing, like it's going to get some type of series, and
So
I think it's
maybe
just because it's animals and not humans. Like if this
Yeah,
was a
that's
human
like the
side
big
of
thing right
story,
now, right?
I
Yeah.
think it's just like, to me it's just okay. Like I feel like we've read it before, but what makes it different is it because it's animals. That's
no,
just
because there's tons of new books now with animals. Like the Animal Pound came out.
yep.
I even read that one from Boom a few months ago. Wild Ends. It's an animal one, something similar where like someone dies. It's like a mystery in the town.
Oh,
It's yeah, it's like a
that.
similar thing. And to your point, like it didn't take off. That's
Mhm.
what I'm saying. We might not be able to like kind of understand, but that's I think what makes something great, right? It just
Mhm.
it checks all the boxes, right? The dialogue, the pace, the art, the story. Like I don't know,
The
but to your point,
intrigueness of the the animals is kind of, I guess, what everybody's all about. So
yeah, perhaps, yeah.
so yeah, so I was able to pick those up. So there's those first 2 issues is definitely on my honorable mentions. Got to talk about the last issue of Tear Us Apart from Dark Horse. It
I
was a
read
4 issue miniseries. So it's a boy and a girl. They are part of a cult, like killer cult. They run away, and then the cult ends up coming to find them in some town, and it's an all-out war in the town, and it ends very, I should say, it's very good ending, and I'm excited to see what happens to see if they do
It
make
was
a
good. You
sequel.
enjoyed
But
it.
yeah, good 4 issues, quick, simple, good read, good art as well, and something different. So that was definitely on my honorable mentions. And I know Zach and I are probably on the same page as where we're going to choose books. So I'll go with my pick of the week. I'm going to go Ultimate Spider-Man #1.
Didn't
Uh,
read it. Yeah.
Yeah, I haven't read that one actually.
oh,
Good.
really? Okay,
Yeah.
so I
I
was
didn't
I,
pick I decided not to pick it up, man. I'm gonna read it online. I just decided not to pick
okay.
it up.
All right, so I'm glad I went with this title than the other title that I would have went with. So yeah, Ultimate Spider-Man #1. Obviously, we were kind of talking about this either last week or the week before with obviously because we were talking at the end of the year when we were talking about our favorite like miniseries, and I said like the Ultimate Invasion stuff. So
Mhm.
obviously the maker changes everything. These characters don't have powers, and now Peter is in his whatever let's call it 30s. He's got 2 kids. He works at the Daily Bugle. His uncle's there. He works there with Jonah, and him and Jonah and Ben are both like really good friends. And he's like your typical parent with kids, working, dealing with life, and kind of has the conversation with MJ that he wants like a change. And you find out through this story that um, Tony Stark and the quote unquote future tells him everything that happened in a way, and he has to make a choice of to
That's a
stay
cool.
as he is, or to basically it's kind of like take the red pill, take the blue pill, Matrix
Yeah.
style.
It's almost a what
So
if.
yeah, basically. Yeah. So, basically, again, at the end, he has the choice to make it. And obviously, they're making this called Ultimate Spider Man. So he chooses this orb that he gets from Tony. It's disintegrates or dissolves. And then inside the orb is a vial, and it's the actual radioactive spider that would have bit him.
Mhm.
So ends up biting him. And obviously, that's what we're going to. So we really don't see anything in issue 1 as far as Spider-Man. You do see a Green Goblin, which I assume is going to be Harry, but it could be somebody different, but who knows? So yeah, that's definitely my pick of the week was Ultimate
Sounds
Spider-Man.
cool.
Just, great storyline, great family aesthetic from, a different side of what the garbage that we've been reading in Amazing Spider-Man.
Yeah, I hear it's
Um,
pretty bad. I don't know, but I hear it's pretty
yeah,
bad.
it's not
Yeah.
fun at all. So Zach, what about you? What do you got for your current reads?
So it was a little light week for me. I got 3 books though to talk about. Honorable mention the Rise of the Powers of 10, Powers of X, whatever you want to say. So still the Fall of the X. We had Fall of the X, and then now you got the the side story as well, which has always kind of been like a futuristic story. So it's kind of showing a little advanced in the years, and it was really cool. Kind of some different versions of the characters. I enjoyed it. Obviously, everyone knows I'm an X-Men guy. Um, Second up, man, I guess I maybe can spoil this. I don't know if I should or not. Transformers #4. Just I don't know. I mean, it's so good. I don't know how
I know. I
you
just
get
don't
on the
like to
fence
talk
with it.
about it on a weekly basis. I'd like to
I
talk
hear
to
it's so
different
good,
people. Yeah.
man.
It's so good. And you know what? And when we were talking about artists and writers and stuff, and obviously, what is it, 2 years ago now when Do a Power Bomb came out, but Daniel Warren crushes, bro. Daniel Warren crushes. And it's so good. And honestly, I like Mike Spicer's art as well in this. I think it's really cool. And the end of this, dude, what the little twist. Did you read this one yet,
Yes.
Justin? The
Yes.
twist, that's pretty cool. Like, I'm pretty excited about that. And I like how they're doing I love when they resurrect. I'll spoil this part. When they brought back Jazz for that like one scene or whatever, like, you know what, I gotta power him up. We need firepower. And then all of a sudden Jazz flies up. Dude, that was like, oh shit, that's awesome. Like, big old smile on my face. I loved it. Really enjoying Transformers, but dude, pick of the week. I mean, hands down, there's no argument. Wolverine number 41.
Thank you.
The
Yes.
start of the Sabretooth War. Holy balls. Did you read this one?
Yeah, that's why those two were my choices, and I figured
Dude.
at Spider-Man you would have taken Wolverine, so that's why I'm glad I took.
So yeah, the cover even tells you. I mean, honestly, between this and what Torrin's doing on Carnage, I'm like, what's happening at Marvel? Like, this is getting awesome. The front of the cover tells you the most violent Wolverine story ever told.
Yep.
So, Greg, I don't know how familiar
I
you are
wanted
with
to
like
pick this one up, man.
Okay,
They didn't have it.
So some backstory with Wolverine and Sabretooth, the history of them. Every year on his birthday, Sabretooth comes and just jacks with Wolverine, like does something horrible, like kills someone, messes with them. It's like been a tradition throughout the years of every year on his birthday, he comes and just does horrible shit. But obviously over the Krakoa age, it's been a little different. Sabretooth has been held prisoner. We had the Sabretooth miniseries where he got out and now he's on his own. And he's kind of teamed up with some alternate Sabretooths around the universe, the multiverse.
Yeah.
And man, he goes after Wolverine. And holy shit, dude. Like, it is wild. Like, I'm gonna get a heads up, at least 2 big time characters get just murked in this book. The final scene, the final page, it was crazy. So I love it. I also like it when Sabretooth's like a good guy. I like it when he's part of the X-Men, the limited times he's there and he teams up with them. Like, it's cool. I always enjoy that as well. But there is just no better rivalry in Marvel Comics than Wolverine versus Sabretooth. And they give you kind of like background on it. So you don't even have to know their history. Like, he kind of tells you as he's going around in the book, the history was with Sabretooth and how like dark it is. And it's wild. I can't believe Marvel printed this book, to be honest.
Yeah. That there's a couple of scenes in there. Well, like the non-spoiler, I guess, even in the beginning where he's fighting amongst all the it's like the
right.
Let's call them the Council of Sabretooths when they're sitting there.
Yeah.
And he literally rips apart Cyclops, but it's not like Cyclops.
Yeah. It's like a clone or like
whatever. Yeah. And he's like, oh, I guess he's called Biclops now, and he's just like split in half.
Yeah, split his face down the middle.
You're like, wow.
Yeah. That was like opening page.
Yeah, that's literally the opening page for Sabretooth fight. And then whatever that other Sabretooth that he's fighting, that's really interesting.
Yeah, there's some cool Sabretooths. But I can't wait for this to keep going.
Yeah, I remember when we talked about this when it got announced. So
yeah,
I got double screwed at the shop today. So my shop's going through transition. Like, new owners have come in. So I made sure to get all of my FOC stuff in and constantly send reminders. But still, they screwed me over, and they didn't. I'm usually a cover A guy always, unless I love a certain variant cover or they're just whatever. I wanted the Stegman, like the family cover from the Ultimate Spider-Man, right? That one.
Okay.
Family portrait sold out like the fastest, apparently, at distribution, like all that. So I get screwed out of that, and I'm like, damn, okay, I want to grab a book. And then I remember, I'm like, I love the cover of that new Wolverine book that apparently is supposed to be like badass. Sure enough, it's gone. And so I'm like, all right. So Black Crown hooked me up with the Stegman one, but I just gotta hope to find that. It shouldn't be too hard to find, but I kind of got left with nothing today from the shop.
Damn.
So it is what it is.
That sucks, especially on like the Marvel side. Like, typically,
how did they not have the Wolverine book like over?
Dude, I don't want to nothing negative because I know how hard it is to kind of own a shop right now. Right. But like, this has happened now more than once, and it's frustrating. But I'm not going to bitch about it. Like, there's literally people starving to death right now in the world. But like, it's definitely frustrating when you do all the things you're supposed to and the new things that they say this is how you get your books, and you still didn't get it. Like, all right, it is what it is. But again, just growing pains. But
Yeah. Well, when you get the chance to check it out, you're not
Yeah,
gonna be
I definitely
disappointed.
will. Even digitally, like tonight, because I usually do my picks of this week, like next week's video, because I read like Wednesday, Thursday usually. So like
Mhm.
I don't read anything prior to that, right? Obviously, until everything comes out. But I mean, just those Zach, like when you were talking about how
Mhm.
awesome Transformers 4 is, and I've heard the whole series. Like I've never done any Transformers reading,
Yeah.
watching, none of that, right? But I've heard nothing but good things. So when you're reading it, like, does it feel like when I read something, if it seems big, since we're visual, like humans, we're visual people. I see things, books that tend to look like a cinematic piece, like the way it's written. I could see it played out in a cinematic capacity,
Mhm.
draws me in more. So I think a lot of people, although the writing is amazing on Transformers, I think they're doing a good job with how they're the artwork. Like I've looked at the artwork and it seems
Yeah.
very, like engaging and like you could see it on like a big screen, like the panels.
Yeah, it's very Gen 1. I mean, it's very much like the cartoon in terms of like the appearance of the characters and like the models of the different Autobots that they have. It's very classic origin of like your Transformer guys. And obviously Justin is the bigger Transformers guy than I am. But like you read it and it's still kind of in that era. So it's like it's kind of somewhat the same origin with like a little twist here and there, but it's like it's almost like the same story, just a lane over, right? A multiverse
Mhm.
over, but
Yeah,
it's so similar that it is so great for like us, 90s guys who watch the cartoons and stuff, and just to be like, wow, dude, like it's like I'm watching a cartoon. And dude, Starscream is wild in this book, in this series, like
Yes.
wild. Like, and like
Yeah,
that's
they
what
don't
I
care.
hate about Starscream in like the show. He's such a whiny little bitch. Like in the original, like, yeah, he's got an annoying voice, like the worst voice in like cartoons. And in this, he's just dude, he
Well,
gets
that's now, but we'll
yeah.
see what happens,
Zach
when
looks all shiny now. His excitement. He looks very
Oh,
new.
dude, it honestly, and it really is to see like these nostalgia like titles come back. Like I can't wait for Thundercats this month to come out. Um, it's so great to see like the old nostalgia from when we grew up like come back and reinvigorate it. And that's the problem with the big two, right? We talked about this before, is you can't take Superman and redo him. New 52 was the best thing DC did. I don't care what anyone says, it is the best thing they ever did. Did it hit on all the marks all the time? No, but like they were able to take all these characters and give you like a ground floor of like, here we go. Now, boom, we're starting here. And they did such a good job at this. But like hearing you talk, like, oh, I don't know which books to read. Like, and then in my head, I'm like, well, what books do I suggest for X-Men? And like, I mean, this is kind of like, it's so backlogged. Like, there's so much.
So much.
So these titles, the indie titles, these ones, it's so great to just come in, jump on, and boom, you're going. And same characters, new stories, and it's fun.
So I have a buddy who reads like DC like every title, and he's shared the same sentiment about the New 52. But he's also said like
Mm.
this current dawn of DC, almost every title has been good. Like
Really?
obviously some misses, but every title he's enjoyed. Like even like obscure ones, like Doom Patrol, he said was like awesome.
Hmm.
Yeah, the Green Lantern, like all this stuff, like outside of Batman, Superman, like even like the Teen Titan stuff, like he said it's been bang on, almost like across the board, which I was like,
Yeah.
I'm like, are you just saying that because you love DC? And he's like, no, dude, genuinely, everything has been really solid on this in this Dawn of DC like thing that they're doing. And I'm like, cool. Like I'm still picking what I'm reading, but it sounds like it's going really well. I don't know about the sales of it all, but the reads I hear are really
Yeah.
good.
I'm reading Green Lantern in issue 7. Actually, it was one I was thinking about talking about. Issue 7 was really good this week. The Green Lantern book is kind of slowish in the first
Yeah,
couple
the
issues.
beginning issues were yeah, I didn't
Yeah,
read this week's, but I know of kind of what happens and
Have
stuff.
you
it's
guys
pretty
read
cool.
Penguin though? The Tom King, the
Oh
Penguin,
yeah,
Oh,
Penguin's
yeah,
great.
yeah, the Penguin
Penguin's
stuff was
great.
great.
really
Yeah,
good. People are
Penguin's
sleeping on
really
that
good.
book.
Yeah, and Batman and Robin. Did you read that one this week, Justin?
I did, yeah, 5. Yeah, with, Damien going to high
I like that
school.
one too, and I liked the back and forth between Batman. Like Joshua, I feel like Joshua Williamson is hitting his steam. Like I like him as a writer anyway, but I know you've been hyped on this run for a while now. This issue was kind of the one where it turned the corner for me. I was like, okay, here we go. I feel like you're getting in the groove on the characters for me, like for what I was looking for. And I really like this past issue.
Yeah, yeah, I was gonna talk about it, but I didn't wanna bring too much to the table for
Yeah.
titles, but yeah, it was actually on the top of my list to talk about, but yeah, the only problem I had with that issue was the end, who the kid is, the soccer player, the goalie.
Oh, yeah, yeah, yeah.
Yeah, that's it.
You didn't like that? I think it was kind of cool.
I mean, I'm not gonna spoil it.
Principal, I
But
read
yeah.
something like the principal or something wasn't like the
So
principal.
like, well, yeah, because
I
Damien
think the
thinks the principal
might
is
be,
Shush.
and also like
Obviously.
his old trainer.
I heard
Yeah.
good things about this issue. That's why.
No, it's a great issue.
yeah.
It's it's fun to see Damien in a high school. Like it's different, but he's still in detective mode. So
Yeah.
but it's good, and Bruce is fun.
The little twist, because you never seen that character, and like you've never seen it with that character. That character doesn't get a lot of like elaborate stories, right? And so
But that's what I said last month with like Man-Bat. Like they really brought
Yes.
Man-Bat to
Yeah.
like a like a they
threat.
kind of upped
Yeah.
him as far as
Yeah.
like a Batman villain. Like he actually can be on more of a level of like a Mr. Freeze or
Mhm.
like a because he's not like a crime boss like Black Mask or Penguin. He's more on that technical side like a
Right.
Riddler or Freeze. So I think it was
We'll see how
yeah.
it
The
goes.
first 5 issues have been great.
I liked the twist at the end. I thought that was kind of cool.
We'll see how that goes.
Yeah,
So.
we'll see how it plays out for sure.
Well, great hour that we didn't even
Yeah.
talk about any articles, and I don't want to get to any articles. I think tonight was good just talking comic books, especially with a new reader
My apologies,
like
guys.
Greg. And I would just want to talk to you all night and just ask tons of questions of like, what's it like being a new reader for
I
like
know,
2
right?
years? Because again, yeah, like Zach said, like you're the shiny like new 9.8 guy. We're like the old Resto guys.
Yeah, right. No shit.
Purple and green labels. No,
Yeah, we're the old we're the CGC like 2.0 guy has been running around, for 30 years, like reading comics.
As fun as it is to collect and do stuff with the kids and read, I honestly just enjoy also getting to understand just the hobby more, the community more, meeting people. Like I'm not just saying it like you can edit this out. Like I'm not doing it for clout. It's like I think I just need to do a little bit more to really like up myself, like in the comic community. I think people are very disingenuous. They like other people might have been on here and been like, oh yeah, I know that Star Wars. Dude, I have not watched anything Star Wars, like zero. I don't watch Transformers, and I've seen people kind of do this where it's like, yeah, I've looked a little bit. It's like, no, I've done none of it. Right. So I want to just kind of read a bit more and kind of up my game a bit.
No. That's fine. I've watched YouTube videos with people on friends of mine's YouTube channels, and they literally ask them questions of like books, and you can just tell from the way their mannerisms are and the way they talk about it. They don't know what they're talking about because they don't read books. And again, I don't really want to get into the articles tonight, but tonight was great. Just just listening to someone who's kind of new in the hobby and learning about new books. Like again, you inform me what you think about Batman, the Gargoyles book, and I think I will check it out because, like Zach said, there's so much. Sometimes there's so much in the miniseries on the Batmans. I'm just like, I can't do another 10 to 12 issue of Batman if it's not going to be good.
If you're going to read one, it's this one. I mean, I'm enjoying Chip's one, like Off-World, whatever, because I like Jason Aaron. But like, dude, read Gargoyle. Like Raphael Grandpa is killing this dude. Like, I have not met anybody who said they didn't like it. Anybody.
There's only 2 issues.
Yeah, it's only 2 issues so far. And honestly, the noir ones are cool to collect. I always get the cover A and the noir, but to read it, you want the full color one. The noir read isn't like the black and white isn't as good as the full color, but the covers are usually awesome on the noir. So I always order cover A and the noir, and they seem to be printed less because the noirs are always gone immediately before any of the other covers.
He's got like, and I don't know if you know the artist. He's got a kind of like a Lee Bermejo style. Greg?
Is this one you're talking about, Grandpa?
Yeah, the Gargoyles. Is it like a Lee Bermejo? Did you read Batman Damned by any chance?
No, but I'm trying to think because I've seen it, and I'm trying to think because wasn't he also on the covers of The Man Who Stopped Laughing, the Joker book? Didn't he do all the cover?
Yeah. Bermejo did some of those. Yeah.
The Joker Stopped Laughing. Yeah.
It might be similar to that.
Okay.
Maybe not. It has like a little bit of a softer texture, like the color, like the almost like a pastel-y, which I like. I like that kind of style. So again, I don't want to speak out of terms, but just fucking shut up and go read the book, man.
All right. No, hey, listen, you sold me on it.
Yeah, you sold me too.
Here's the thing: if it was trash, I can't wait. I can't transfer you money because you're like
no. There's ways to do it. The guys in Canada, we transfer money. They pay PayPal or Venmo me somehow. You could just give it to Newbie or one of those guys, and they'll give it to me at Terrificon. It's fine.
Yeah, that's my
Right on.
goal. I'm trying to get out to Terrificon this year. I've been Jay,
Oh
like,
yeah.
but like shockingly, Jay and like Thorough were some of the first people I like connected with like randomly on this. So I've always talked to him for like the longest, and that's one thing I've said to him, like I got to get it to Terrificon.
Yeah. You know, I go every year. Of course, as people know, we announced it last year. We are set up there. The Comic Con podcast has a table there. We have obviously we have two tables. We have a table for ourselves, and we have our buddy V Ken Marion, who we're bringing. So we'll be an artist alley. So
You guys drive down? Like, how does it work?
So yeah, we drive up. So
Yeah, you're right there.
yeah. So I'm like a 3-hour drive. It's 3 to 3.5 hour drive is great for me.
Yeah.
So super excited for that. So yeah, we'll be at Terrificon in 7 months, and I just keep saving money, putting money aside for casino, for food, for whatever else I'm buying.
A mortgage,
like everything. It's all
there's a
everything
lot
gets put aside.
Yeah.
I showed the Canadians how to save, for Terrificon. So yeah, it's gonna be fun. We got the rooms all set up. It's great.
It's awesome, man. It's
super excited. But let's end that on the episode on a high note with all the comic book talk. Greg, let people know where they can find you one last time, and anything else that you want to say. So
just IG Paperweight Collects. Like I said, we're looking at maybe expanding onto YouTube, but not just yet. Me and the little one, we have some ideas because we're also collecting a lot more toys. But aside from that, man, just to you, Justin, and Zach, I just appreciate you having me on because, like, again, I'm new to this. You probably would have had a good time talking to someone who's been doing this forever, but I just appreciate the time and just kind of giving me game, right? Like learning still.
Yeah. No, dude, this was fun. This is a lot of fun. We definitely got to have you on again for sure.
We'll appreciate
you're more than welcome, more so than some of the Canadians that we've had on the show that know some stuff. So yeah, people, please go check out Greg, Paperweight Collectables. Right now he's at 950 followers. He literally should be well over 1,000 for the videos that he puts out weekly with his daughter. And I'm not going to shell out her government name. You can go check her out.
She's a professional model, so she makes more money than all of us in our government.
Listen, I recently saw this thing on Instagram, and it was like the top 10 YouTubers, and like in the top 5, 2 of them were kids. So
and that's not why I'm doing it, because she makes her own. Like, I'm just saying, like,
hey, I don't, and both in the top 5 they do toys. They don't do comic books. So if you can do that,
and she was officially dubbed. The Butcher dubbed her the first little lady of comics.
Nice.
So there you go.
So that's a pretty cool thing. And I'm debating now. She did a cover of a novel. So that's her first cover appearance that I might have to try and hustle and sell one day to get the Terrificon.
There you go. So yeah, everybody, please follow Greg over on Instagram. Get him to 1,000 within the next few days. Zach, what about you?
No, good, man. Great episode. Starting the year off strong. And yeah, man, we'll see you guys next week, I guess.
Yeah, right? Absolutely.
Echo review next week, probably.
Yeah, we'll talk Echo next week. We wanted to give people at least more than 2 days. More than 2 days.
You didn't watch 5
and a half.
5 episodes. I think everyone binged it already. I haven't seen it, but
I watched 2 episodes. So
how was it?
We'll finish it. We'll talk about it next week. You can hear our review. It's tough to like give a review after 2 episodes because
I'm enjoying it so
far.
I'm enjoying it.
Yeah, we'll talk about the 5 episodes all in one shot next week. But of course, like I said, Terrificon. Make sure you're following us over on Instagram. We do have, obviously we did the update. Merch is coming soon, and then of course in April we have King Kong. We'll be set up at King Kong and King Kong show. Tickets are on sale, so go check out their Instagram and the website, so you can purchase tickets now. And I believe there is a discount code through the Pressable Defect, so go check that out as well. And we'll see you all next week talking about some more comic book stuff. So peace out, everybody.
Later,
guys. Have a good night.
Hey, comic book collectors. Do you want to protect what you collect? Do you hate when your comic books slide around in your short box, or you need to turn them sideways just so they don't bend or fall over? Well, look no further than Sidekick Supplies. Their product fits firmly inside your comic box, so you don't need to worry. And not only is their product made in the USA, but also ships free directly to your doorstep. Check out our sponsor, Sidekick Supplies, at sidekicksupplies.com and use the code ComicCom15 for 15% off your purchase. Believe me, you'll be ordering more than one.